Warkworth, Ontario, a picturesque village in Northumberland County, known for its tranquil landscapes and close-knit community. In 2008, this peaceful setting became the backdrop for a harrowing tale of betrayal, one that would deeply disturb its residents and expose dark undercurrents. At the heart of this mystery was Michelle Barnoski, a 33-year-old single mother. She lived with her then 14-year-old son, Cody, in a modest home on Concession Street. Their landlord was Mark Vickers, 34, who had a connection to Michelle's family. He was the former long-term boyfriend of Michelle's sister, Nina. The arrangement seemed convenient, affordable housing for Michelle and Cody, and familiar company. Yet, beneath this amicable cohabitation, tensions were silently simmering, destined to erupt into a horrifying discovery. Michelle Barnoski's life had been marked by instability. After separating from Cody's father, who struggled with addiction and abandoned the family when Cody was young, Michelle and her son had a somewhat transient existence. Cody, in particular, experienced a disrupted childhood, attending 9 different schools by the time he reached grade 9. Despite these challenges, Michelle was reportedly a devoted mother, striving to provide stability. Mark Vickers, once close to Nina's family, offered Michelle and Cody a place to stay when he found himself struggling with mortgage payments. The arrangement was a win-win. Mark had tenants and Michelle and Cody had a cheaper place to live. Michelle and Mark, described as outdoorsy, had always gotten along well, and Cody even referred to Mark as his uncle. This comfortable dynamic, however, began to shift. Over time, Michelle and Mark decided to cultivate marijuana plants within the house, ostensibly to generate extra cash. Simultaneously, Michelle began a new relationship with Terry. This new dynamic created friction. Mark, concerned about exposure of their illicit operation, told Terry he was no longer welcome. As Michelle's relationship with Terry grew more serious, she would often leave for days to stay at his house, frequently leaving Cody to fend for himself. This exacerbated existing strains between mother and son and further complicated the household's delicate balance. The evening of May 27, 2008, became the critical turning point. Michelle and Cody had an argument, reportedly over Cody skipping school. According to Cody, his mother stormed out and did not return. The next morning, concern mounted when Michelle failed to show up for work. Cody contacted his aunt Nina asking if she had seen Michelle. Nina had not, and she spent the day trying to locate her sister. Michelle's boyfriend, Terry, also claimed he didn't know her whereabouts. Michelle's sisters, Nina and Lisa, spent several subsequent days actively searching the area, even checking nearby ditches for her car, fearing an accident. Cody, meanwhile, told his paternal grandmother that his mother's disappearance might be linked to her drug use and sales, remarking that there's always men lined up outside the house. Michelle's sister Nina initially hesitated to involve police due to the marijuana cultivation. She waited, speaking with Mark to get his approval. It wasn't until May 29th, 2 days after Michelle's disappearance, that her family finally contacted the Ontario Provincial Police, OPP. The public was soon informed that Michelle Barnoski was last seen leaving her Warkworth home on May 27, 2008. She was described as 33 years old, approximately 5 foot 4 inches tall, with wavy, red-dyed hair. She was driving her 1999 red Pontiac Sunfire and had a distinctive tiger tattoo on her left ankle. The police appealed for information, specifically asking if anyone had seen hitchhikers or individuals on County Road 25 on the night of her disappearance. Not long after, Michelle's car was located. The missing Pontiac Sunfire was found in a secluded area on the west side of County Road 25, just south of Warkworth. The vehicle was parked within the tree line, not overtly visible. A local turkey hunter had seen it days before, assuming it belonged to a fellow hunter and only reporting it after hearing news reports. The driver and passenger windows were open, and the keys were found on the driver's seat. Inside were her green purse, cell phone, and cross-training binders. The discovery of the abandoned vehicle, coupled with the passage of time, immediately heightened police suspicion. With the case now deemed suspicious, police launched an extensive investigation. Officers from the OPP's Northumberland detachment, along with the emergency response team, K-9 unit, and a helicopter, combed the area where the car was found. Later, a dive team searched nearby bodies of water. Despite these efforts, there was still no sign of Michelle. Police initially stated they were optimistic she would be found alive, expanding their search around Warkworth. Constable Chris Dewsbury confirmed that Michelle Barnoski's home had been searched, but no initial evidence was found. Police then shifted focus to the car, dusting it for prints. Only one partial print was found on the driver's side door, but it wasn't useful for identification. After a thorough initial sweep, officers came up with nothing, prompting them to secure another warrant to search Michelle's home again. On June 12th, just over 2 weeks after Michelle was last seen, the police announced they had arrested 2 suspects, a 34-year-old man and a 14-year-old boy. No further information was immediately released, leaving the community in shock. The following day, a local reporter witnessed the OPP executing a second search warrant on the Concession Street house. Photos showed the simple white wooden home surrounded by police tape. A forensic investigation tent had been erected in the backyard. Later that day, after an even more meticulous search of the property, police found something significant in the backyard. They discovered loose dirt covered by sheets of wood and old tires. After removing these, officers uncovered a shallow grave that contained human remains wrapped in a distinctive Harry Potter blanket, further secured within a blue tarp tied with multiple bungee cords. They didn't unwrap it at the scene, sending it directly to a lab in Toronto for formal identification and autopsy. The autopsy positively identified the body as Michelle Barnoski. The findings were brutal. She had been bludgeoned in the head and suffered 8 gunshot wounds to the head and neck. Her left arm was broken, and bones in her right hand were cracked, indicating a violent struggle. The coroner's report concluded that Michelle was likely still alive during the gruesome beating before she was fatally shot multiple times. The discovery of Michelle's body and the autopsy results added critical pieces to the puzzle. Investigators recalled an earlier detail. During the initial, less thorough search of Michelle's house, they had found several spent bullet casings in a container in Cody's room. At the time, unaware that a gun was involved, their relevance was not recognized. It was only after Michelle's cause of death was confirmed to involve gunshot wounds that this information became exponentially relevant. Further investigation revealed that Mark Vickers' ex-girlfriend Nina's father, who was also Michelle's father, had previously given Mark a gun, a .22 caliber long rifle. Mark and Nina's father were quite close and would sometimes engage in target shooting. The gun was kept in the main floor bedroom. Nina would later testify that Mark had shown 14-year-old Cody how to operate this very weapon. The initial arrests on June 12, 2008, brought the public face-to-face with the unthinkable. The 14-year-old boy was identified as Cody Barnoski, Michelle's own son. He was charged with second-degree murder. The 34-year-old man arrested was Mark Vickers, Michelle's landlord, housemate, and partner in the marijuana operation. He was charged with accessory after the fact to second-degree murder. Both were denied bail, signaling the severity of the charges. 3 months later, the media reported a significant upgrade in charges. Mark Vickers' charge was upgraded first to second-degree murder and then to first-degree murder. Shortly thereafter, Cody Barnoski's charges were also elevated from second-degree murder to first-degree. While Cody's name remained protected by the Youth Criminal Justice Act, the public was granted permission to be informed of the simple fact. The youth accused of the first-degree murder of Michelle Barnoski was, in fact, her own son. The house that had been home to 3 now saw one presumed dead and the other 2 accused in her brutal murder. Cody Barnoski and Mark Vickers would be tried separately due to Cody's youth status. Cody's trial commenced in November 2009 in Peterborough. Mark's trial began almost a year later in Oshawa, chosen to reduce the likelihood of potential jurors having been influenced by news reports from Cody's trial. Many of the same witnesses were called to testify in both proceedings. In Cody's trial, witness reports detailed an increasingly fractured relationship between him and his mother, Michelle, exacerbated by tensions in their living arrangements with Mark. While they once shared a loving bond, it crumbled when Cody entered his teenage years. They frequently fought over Cody skipping school, chores, and his serious relationship, which Michelle felt was inappropriate for his age. Michelle's sister, Nina, testified that Cody had referred to his mother as a crack whore and used the term crack whore abandonment. When Mark Vickers was first interviewed by police 5 days after Michelle went missing, he described a house rife with arguments between Michelle and Cody. Mark stated he disliked conflict, but he too had been in conflict with Michelle. It appeared their once good rapport had deteriorated. For the night of the murder, Mark initially claimed he was staying at his sister's house in Brampton. He maintained that upon his return, he found Cody alone, who claimed Michelle had stormed out and not been seen since. Mark repeated this story, but when detectives presented him with glaring inconsistencies, he broke down. He stated he had endured enough twisting and turmoil and was ready to tell the truth. Mark changed his story. He admitted to asking family members to help him with his fake alibi and confessed to his complicity in covering up the crime. He admitted to driving Michelle's car to abandon it, driving Cody to purchase bleach, discarding the .22 caliber gun in a creek, and assisting in burying Michelle's body on his property. Ultimately, Cody Barnoski was found guilty of first-degree murder. In October 2010, at 16, he received an adult sentence. Life in prison with no possibility of parole for 7 years. Mark Vickers was also found guilty of first-degree murder and received a life sentence, with parole eligibility set for 2035. The trials revealed a complex web of family dysfunction, drug use, and escalating conflict that culminated in Michelle Barnoski's brutal death. The convictions brought a measure of closure, but the tragedy resonated deeply within the Warkworth community and with Michelle Barnoski's family. The brutal murder of a mother by her own teenage son, abetted by a former family friend, underscored hidden issues. Discussions arose about youth crime, dysfunctional family dynamics, and the influence of adult figures. The case served as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance and communication within families. In the years following their convictions, both Cody Barnoski and Mark Vickers served their sentences. Recent developments have brought renewed attention to the case. In September 2020, Cody Barnoski, then 27, was granted day parole after serving 10 years. The Parole Board of Canada cited his progress, noting he had made significant strides in addressing his past behaviors, demonstrating positive conduct, maintaining employment, and working toward a welding apprenticeship. Further, in September 2022, Cody Barnoski, now 29, was granted full parole. The Parole Board of Canada's decision highlighted his continued progress, ruling that he would not present an undue risk to society. Conditions of his parole include meeting with a mental health professional and avoiding victim family members. The board noted his chaotic childhood with parental drug and alcohol abuse, abandonment by his father, and frequent moves. Despite acknowledging these mitigating factors, the board reiterated there was no excuse for the murder, which the judge at his trial called nothing short of horrific, callous, and brutal. Mark Vickers remains in custody at Bath Institution in Kingston and is not eligible for parole until 2035. He continues to maintain his innocence regarding the actual act of murder, conceding only to being an accessory after the fact. His final appeal was dismissed in March 2020. Vickers' mother has publicly supported his claims of innocence. However, the parole board's decision regarding Cody Barnoski specifically noted that Cody had shot and beaten his mother, making no mention of Vickers' involvement in the actual act of murder. The Michelle Barnoski case, marked by betrayal and unimaginable violence, remains a somber chapter in Warkworth's history. It is a story that illustrates how fractured relationships and hidden criminal activities can culminate in profound tragedy. The consequences of that night continue to echo, affecting not only the direct participants but also the broader community and the enduring legacy of Michelle Barnoski. Her death serves as a grim reminder of the complex and often devastating realities that can lie beneath the surface of even the most outwardly peaceful lives.